Back to Miller. Oh, my goodness.
Herbert.
Sidearm sling, and it's a touchdown.
Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, good spin move by Filipowski for the news. Give him 9.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Your host Ryan Coyle, joined alongside Kevin Cannon for another episode of our NFL Weekly Preview Show. The NFL Divisional Round, a pretty wild card weekend. I think one of the bigger upsets in the playoffs in recent memory, I think, with Dallas going down to Green Bay. We also had the Eagles losing as a favorite to the Bucs. I don't really know if that was that big of an upset, but Saturday we had a couple blowouts with the AFC games, and then we obviously had the game on Sunday getting moved to Monday with the Bills. They wound up winning pretty easily as well. And then the Sunday night game between the Rams and the Lions, I think, lived up to the hype. That was a really fun one. So successful wild card weekend. We no longer have to watch the Philadelphia Eagles play football, and we can enjoy the rest of the season going forward. But as always, Kev, welcome back, and how are we?
Great. Yeah, it was a super fun weekend this past weekend, and I think this weekend is going to be just as good too.
Yeah, this weekend in the AFC, at least everything held serve, chalk across the board with all the high seeds winning. So you'll have 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. And then in the NFC, we got 3 versus 4 and we have 7 versus 1. So one upset there with the Packers game. But we got 2 games on Saturday this week, 2 games on Sunday, one on the AFC on Saturday, one on Sunday. So an even split there with AFC and NFC on each day. And the first game of the divisional weekend is in Baltimore with the number 4 seed Texans and CJ Stroud off that beatdown of the Cleveland Browns last week, going to the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. 4:30 kick on ESPN. Ravens come into this one off the bye as a 9-point favorite. Over under sitting at 43.5. So the Ravens advance to the AFC Championship game, Kev.
I think they do. They win 31 to the Texans 23. So the Texans end up covering the 9 over 43.5. These teams faced off already this year, all the way back in week 1, and the Ravens won pretty handedly 25-10. And the Ravens also sacked CJ Stroud 5 times in that game. And the Ravens defense is very, very good. They've been good all year, and I'm expecting that to continue here. And last week, I did pick the Browns because I thought the Browns defense would be able to slow down CJ Stroud, and obviously I was wrong there. But this week, I'm still putting faith in Baltimore's defense. This year, they had just as many interceptions as they did passing TDs allowed, with 18 of each, which is a pretty crazy stat. And the Ravens this year became the first team in NFL history to beat 10 teams over 500 in a season. So they've been tested all year. They've answered the bell every time. Lamar is going to probably end up winning MVP, and the Ravens' rushing attack, which led the league this year, is going to be able to keep the ball away from Stroud. I don't think Stroud's going to play particularly poor in this game. I just think you're going to see the difference between a Super Bowl team and a team who has already far exceeded expectations for this year.
Yeah, like you said with the Texans, this is far and away anything more than they could have expected in the year. A playoff berth alone would have been considered a success. Said they go in the division, win a playoff game, and here they are, 1 game away from the AFC Championship. I think this well exceeded their goals and expectations with a first-year head coach and quarterback. So hats off to the Texans for a great year. A couple notes and trends on this game on the betting market. Texans 4-1 against the spread this year as a road dog. Ravens, though, 5-3 as a home favorite, so not a major discrepancy there. But Texans have proven to be a good team on the road. I think that could be at least against the spread, but I think that could just be reflected where they were an underdog a lot at the beginning of the season just because people weren't believing in them. Also, thought this was a little bit interesting. The first year that only one team got a bye in each conference was 21-22 after they added that 7 seed. Both 1 seeds lost that year. Last year in the second year, both 1 seeds won. So I'm interested to kind of see this week with the Ravens and 49ers how the 1 seeds do coming off that extra rest. And you also have to keep in mind the Ravens and the 49ers both didn't play basically any of their key guys in week 7 or week 18 as well. So these guys have had 2 kind of full weeks off. I'm interested to see the rest versus rust type thing with them. A loss here for the Ravens, despite Lamar being the MVP, I think would be a huge hit to his resume just because the narrative with him now and 2 MVPs, the narrative is still going to be he can't get it done in the playoffs. So interested to see how he responds and looks in the playoffs here. But if the Stroud and the Texans do pull this off, I think he's going to be vaulted already into that top 5 quarterback type conversation at the moment. John Harbaugh, though, 13-7 against the spread during his career in the playoffs. So he's shown the ability to beat the market more times than not. And I think this spot is just too big for this Texans team right now. As we were saying, already a huge success for them this season, like more than they could have expected. I think it's just a little bit too big of a spot on the road at Baltimore, not nearly as talented as this Ravens squad. Future's bright, but that Browns team, I think last week was a fluke and says a lot more about what the Browns are than the Texans. I think the Ravens are going to be able to win this game and win it pretty easily. Texans might be able to come out and surprise them at first, but the Ravens, once they settle in at home, I think they're going to get this one done. I'm going to go Ravens 27, Texans 14. So Ravens -9 and the under of 43.5 hit in there. Second game of the week on Saturday night, the number 7 seed Packers coming in sky-high confidence after that beatdown of the Cowboys. They're going to the number 1 seed in San Francisco, the 49ers. 8:15 kick on Fox. Niners are a 9.5-point favorite. Over/under is 50.5. Kev, can the Packers pull off yet again another major upset here?
I'm going no, but I think they keep it really close. They end up covering 49ers 31, Packers 27. Like I just said, Packers covering the 9.5, over 50.5. This game reminds me a lot of the Ravens-Texans game we just talked about, and I'm going to go with the 1 seed here again. I don't think there's any way the Packers can pull off another upset. Jordan Love was phenomenal against the Cowboys, and I think that can even continue against the Niners. I think Love can make some plays and get the ball to his young wide receivers, but the issue for me is going to be on the other side of the ball. I don't expect Purdy to put the ball in harm's way like Dak did last week. Dak had 2 picks, but he also threw a bunch of other balls that should have been picked off. I believe the Niners will continue to be a balanced offense like they have all year with McCaffrey in the backfield and then all their weapons on the outside. And Alexander, the Packers cornerback, his health coming into this is a big issue for me. He was banged up going into the game last week against the Cowboys. He ended up making that huge play and allowed the Packers to go up 2 scores, but then he got re-injured later in the game, and his health and availability this week's in doubt. I just think the 49ers against the Packers here, it's just going to be too much, and the 49ers win a pretty close game.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we saw the 6-seeded Niners go to Green Bay and knock off the Packers. Can the Packers return the favorite here as a big underdog? We've seen the Packers and the 49ers in our lifetime, I think, a lot in the playoffs. So this is a bit of a unsung kind of rivalry in the playoffs. I do think 9.5 points is too much, though, based off of how Jordan Love and the Packers looked last week. Where I do get worried for this Packers team, though, is in the regular season, they allowed the 5th most rushing yards per game, and they're playing a 49ers team that averaged the 3rd most rushing yards per game. I think they're going to turn to that running game, whether it's Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, any of the other running backs mixing in. I think they're really going to lean on that running game and run to get ahead in this one, and then just put the Packers away even more with their run. Wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers go out there and run the ball 40 to 50 times in this game. And it is really hard to doubt the Packers right now. They're playing with the utmost confidence. They have nothing to lose, really. They're playing with house money, just like the Texans, as you touched on. They've exceeded everyone's expectations. So another win here going to the NFC Championship, that would be just another feather in the cap for this team. But regardless, this has been a successful year for this squad. I'm not going to take the large leap and say that they go out there to San Fran and win this game, but I think they make this a fight. And if they're hanging around come the 4th quarter, I'd rather have Jordan Love going out there making plays than Brock Purdy. So I'm interested to see, with all the pressure in the world on them, both the Ravens and the 49ers. Like, this is a spot where they're widely expected to represent to win their conference and represent the AFC and the NFC in the Super Bowl, I think. If they fold under pressure here to a much lesser team in the Packers and a much lesser team in the Texans, they're going to be hearing the noise the entire offseason. So there's a lot of pressure on them in this spot. I do think that they find a way to get this one done, but I think I don't think I'm going to bet this game from the start. I think I'm going to look at this one more of a live angle, see once both teams are kind of settled in. Do the 49ers and Brock Purdy come out nervous, maybe jump on the Packers end? Do the Packers do what they did last week and take the kickoff and go right down the field and score? Maybe hop on them right after. But this is going to be a really fun game, and I think the one I'm looking forward to the most on Saturday by far. So I do think the 49ers find a way to get it done, but I will go with the Packers to cover. I'm going to go 49ers 30, Packers 23. So Packers plus 9.5 in the over of 50.5. All right, we go to Sunday now. The 4-seed Bucs coming off that blowout win over the Eagles at the number 3 seed Detroit Lions, NFC North champ, coming off that win over the Rams on Sunday night. 3 o'clock kick on NBC. Lions, a 6-point favorite. Over under is 48.5. The Lions continue to win here, Kev.
I think so. I'm going Lions 24, Bucks 21, Bucks plus 6, under 48.5. I think Baker's proven at this point he can make plays and lead his team to a W. I just think the issue for the Bucks here is the lack of a running game. They have struggled to run the ball for 2 years now, being last in the league in rushing in most categories for 2 years. I think this is going to allow Aiden Hutchinson and the D-line of the Lions to get after Baker way more than the Eagles were able to do last week. And as bad as the Eagles defense played last week, they still ended up getting a couple sacks on Baker. I think the D-line of the Lions could make it a longer day for him. This will cover up the Lions' weaker secondary, and then I expect on the offense side of the ball, Goff and everybody to just keep rolling. The duo of Montgomery and Gibbs in the backfield is great, and then on the outside you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, Williams, and they're just great at making tough catches and making plays after the catch. I think it's going to be kind of close, but the Lions advance to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I'm also on the Lions in this one, but I think that they're going to win this one pretty easily. The Lions actually might be my favorite play of the week on the board. I do agree with a lot of the noise out there that this is a tough spot for them to get back up for after winning that game against the Rams last week. It felt like that was a Super Bowl, just getting that illustrious first playoff win in so long. So it's kind of hard to shift the focus to the next task and rebound for this game. But this Lions team really does seem locked in, and I was super impressed by that performance last week because it felt like a lot of people were picking the Rams, and they went out there and were able to get it done at the end of the day. I wasn't that impressed with the Bucs just because watching the Eagles game, I didn't really expect much from the Eagles at all going into that one. So I wasn't expecting the Eagles to win, and it wasn't like the Bucs went out there and completely dominated. The Eagles just shot themselves in the foot time and time again, like we saw for them over the second half of the season. So I think eventually kind of the Baker Mayfield magic is going to have to run out, and I think a road game here at Detroit where we saw that looked like probably the best home environment last week, I think that kind of gets to them again. Tampa facing a very much more competent offense this week. That's proven that they can hurt you both on the ground and in the passing game. When you look at this Lions squad and why I wouldn't be surprised to see them win the Super Bowl at the end of the day is the balance that this team has running and throwing the ball. You alluded to it as well. But I expect the Bucs to kind of revert back to the Bucs that we saw towards the end of the season, the same team that only scored 9 points against the Panthers. That isn't what we saw on Monday night is a lot more indicative of what the Eagles became than what the Bucs are. So I look for the Lions to win this one, go back to the NFC Championship for the first time since 1991. I think they win this one pretty comfortably. I'm going to go Lions 30, Bucs 17. So Lions -6, and I'll go with the under of 48.5 there. All right, final game of the week. I think the one that everyone's looking forward to the most. Feels like this one is I mean, you could throw the Bengals Chiefs into it as well, but this really reminds me of Peyton Manning with the Colts and Tom Brady with the Patriots. It seems like these squads are going to be facing off in the playoffs pretty much every year going forward, as long as these two guys are playing quarterback at some point or another. But the number 3 seed Chiefs traveling to the number 2 seed Bills for a 6:30 kickoff on CBS. Bills are a 3-point favorite. Over under is 45.
Yeah, I'm going super close game. Bills 23, Chiefs 21. So Chiefs cover the 3, under 45. Very excited for this game. It's going to be the third playoff game between Mahomes and Allen. Mahomes winning the first 2, as we know, but they were both in Kansas City. Mahomes will now have his first road playoff game in his career, which is just insane with how much success he's had in his career. already. And Buffalo has won the past 3 matchups in the regular season, though. I think they get over the hump in the postseason here. The Bills can run the ball now with James Cook, which takes pressure off of Josh Allen. And then Josh Allen showed last week he can also run the ball really effectively. He's hard to bring down, pretty underrated speed as well. And watching last week against the Dolphins, the offense for the Chiefs still seems a little funky, a little clunky to me. Drops are still happening, and they can't score at will like they used to be able to a couple years ago or even last year a little bit. They still have Mahomes, so I'm never going to count them out. They always have a shot with him. But I think Buffalo gets a late turnover here and wins a close, great game.
Yeah, as we touched on, I'm super excited to see this one. It's going to be a fun way to wrap up the divisional round. And I mean, for football's sake, I'm hoping the Ravens win because whoever wins this game, I think, will be an awesome AFC championship game. But the Chiefs at the beginning of this playoffs, they were my pick to win the Super Bowl. I got them at 10-1, and they really did nothing last week to shift my belief. I know going into it that they're lacking kind of those options on the outside in the passing game, but this is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had. They have a legit running game. I think he's still the best quarterback in the playoffs. And this is still, at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and all the success that they've had in the playoffs together. It's a little too hard for me to pick against, especially like you said, Kev, with the Bills getting the upper hand in the regular season. The Chiefs have shown the ability to get the upper hand when it matters most in the playoffs. I do agree, though, that it is insane that this is the first road game of Patrick Mahomes' career in the playoffs, and the fact that he's already 12-3 with at least probably another decade of really good football ahead of him is even more mind-boggling. But looks like the next few days in Buffalo is going to be getting some snow, but game day looks pretty clear. So temperatures are going to be so cold. There might be some flurries or something, but it shouldn't have a huge impact on the game. So we should see both these teams at their best. Few trends here to note for this Bills-Chiefs game, though. Since 2018, when Mahomes took over, the Chiefs are 10-5 against the spread in playoff games. And over that same span, the Bills are only 3-6 against the spread in playoff games. Patrick Mahomes, per ESPN Stats and Info, has been an underdog just 10 times in his NFL career. He's 8-1-1 against the spread and 7-3 straight up. So to sum it up, really, when he's an underdog, he's been as good of a bet as you can get on the board. And this isn't the Steelers coming to town this week for the Bills. I'm looking for the Chiefs to go up there to win in Buffalo, win this game outright, cover the spread, do all that good stuff, and advance to the AFC title game for the 6th straight time. I think that this is just another illustrious moment in Patrick Mahomes' career, and something where Josh Allen goes out there, has one or two too many turnovers in this game that eventually shoots the Bills in the foot. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs 24, Bills 20. So Chiefs +3, under 45. So my predictions are we have a Chiefs-Ravens NFC or AFC Championship game and a 49ers Lions NFC Championship game. I think both of those would be awesome. You got Ravens versus Bills, and then 49ers versus Lions. So regardless, like I said, if it's Ravens versus either of these teams, and I'm really rooting for 49ers Lions, I think we'd be in for a pretty awesome conference championship weekend. But any last second comments, Kev, before we head out? Only 2 more episodes to go on the year after this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And shout out to the Cowboys for announcing today that they are not firing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, that's nice. Get him back for another year. Hopefully, Dak a big extension too. And then yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll be breaking down the Eagles again once again next year, and those illustrious regular season Cowboys too. But that'll do it for this episode here of Beef Up Front. Thank you everyone for listening. Enjoy the divisional round, and we will talk next week.